Hi everyone, it's Liz here from Dyslexia Daily, and it's a lovely Tuesday here in Melbourne. It's a bit overcast and a little bit cloudy, but it's quite warm. So I got up really super early this morning and went to the gym I got up at 5 because I had a mosquito and that was driving me crazy, but I was actually at the gym by 6. So I am feeling pretty energetic today and powering through my day. Now today's topic is 6 reasons why a child may be struggling to learn. Now, you know I've been talking about all the reasons that children can be struggling to learn to read, and I've been talking about some of the indicators that teachers miss. I've been talking about some of the things that you can do when a child is actually struggling with reading and how you can start that process. But today I want to go bigger picture. So today I'm going to be looking at 6 reasons why a child can be struggling to learn. Now, you know, when a child starts school, they want to succeed. They want to make parents proud. They want to make friends. They want to learn to read and spell. They want to do sums like the big kids. And they have no intention of struggling to learn and fail. And fail they do, especially as the years go on. And we have our standardised testing in place, which puts enormous pressure on little people early. So what are some of the legitimate reasons that might be holding children back? Because we know that children would not set out to struggle and fail. Who would do that? No one. Well, number 1 today is a diagnosable learning difference, disability or difficulty, and we can put dyslexia into that category. A specific language impairment can go in that category, and a few other types of language-based disabilities can go into that category as well. So we're talking about something that is legitimately slowing down their ability to pick up learning to read and spell in a formal classroom setting. Now, we use the word disability all the time, it's used particularly in the US. New Zealand tends to use the terminology learning difference. Australia is all over the place. Some people say disability, some people say difference, some people say difficulty. I like the word school learning difficulty because for me, children who struggle at school don't necessarily struggle when they leave school. In fact, sometimes they have brain processing skills that actually make them go on and do incredibly well outside of school. So when you have a child who is showing the symptoms and signs of struggling, it's really important to get onto it early. And one of the things that we should start looking for is a specific learning disability, perhaps like dyslexia or a specific language impairment. So that's one of the reasons why children can be struggling to learn. Another reason is an inability to sit still. Now, some people call this ADD, which is just the inability to focus and stay engaged as the information is being given to specific children. ADHD is the one where hyperactivity becomes involved. Attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, that's where ADHD comes from. So this is the child who struggles to sit still. Now, there are all different approaches when a child struggles to sit still. Some people just want the child to sit still and they will actually find solutions to making that happen. There are all sorts of tactile tools. There are all sorts of weighted lap bandages we can get. There is also all sorts of things that can be happening to actually try and stop the child from moving. Drugs are one of those things too. There are a lot of children who with ADHD and ADD that are put onto some sort of type of drugs to try and stop them moving. There are a lot of historical facts about the way humans evolved, which said that we were never really designed to sit in a classroom. I was never really designed to sit in this desk all day, hence why I go to the gym. And I basically think that kids should be able to keep moving. Hi Christy, how are you? You're asking me a question about Spanish immersion. I want you to give me some more ideas about what your question is actually asking, Christy, and I'll try and answer it at the end. So, what was I talking about? ADHD, wasn't I? So we're talking about children who struggle to sit still. Now that can definitely impact on a child's learning in a formal classroom. It's definitely something we need to be aware of. It's something that needs to be addressed. And when I say addressed, I think what I'm really trying to say is when children need to move to learn, did you hear what I said then? Some children need to move to learn. If you sit them still, their brain stops functioning and the learning gets switched off. They actually need to be moving, and that is something that teachers are probably going to have to need to think about moving forward to keep kids actively engaged in learning. That can hold children back from learning. So, children on the spectrum, and by spectrum, I am now talking about the autism spectrum. So we've got a pretty big, that's as big as I can go on this screen, scale of what the autism spectrum means. It can be just Asperger's, which is now at the lower end, right up to very, very autistic, which is children who really struggle to function, feed themselves, toilet themselves, dress themselves, quite extreme. We've also got twice exceptional kids that fall into that category as well. Twice exceptional being 2E means that these are children who are dyslexic, but they're also on the spectrum. They're on the spectrum, but they're also highly, super intelligent. So twice exceptional means they've got a cognitive difference, autism, dyslexia, ADHD, one of those things, but their intelligence levels are so high that this learning difficulty or difference is holding them back, but they're super smart. So I can tell you there are lots of people out there in the industry who are doing incredibly well now, but they're twice exceptional, super smart. Now, these are kids who, particularly on the autism spectrum, they struggle with social skills. They struggle with engaging one-to-one with people who are giving them information. There's all these little pieces that go with the autism spectrum which can make learning difficult. So this is a reason why children can struggle to learn. Now, the last statistic I heard was that 40% of children with autism can have dyslexia. So there's a big crossover there. So something to be mindful of. Now, this is another one. Another reason why a child can be failing to learn. Now, this is usually because of some kind of episode that's happened in a child's life. So we're talking about anxiety and a traumatic psychological disorder. We're talking about the child who is struggling from high levels of anxiety. They are constantly in fight or flight, and they don't know what is going to happen from day to day. Now, that might be something that is happening in their family home. It might be something that's happening at school in the playground. It might be a condition that's evolved over time because a child has experienced a lot of stress and trauma throughout their years. Now, the child who is literally swimming around in the deep end, paddling like anything underneath, this is a child who is going to struggle to learn in a classroom. So teachers and parents, when you have a child who is struggling to learn, I want you to start thinking a little bit broader than just, wow, this kid's lazy, or wow, this kid's not very motivated, or this kid just doesn't get it, or this kid can go in the low group because I don't know what's going on. You've really got to do a little bit more exploring to find out what's going on for particular kids. Now, number 5 on my list is mood and emotional problems. Now, this is the next level on from anxiety and traumatic reactions. This is more your mental illness leading towards depression. So this is the child who is quite sad, perhaps looks on the outside like they're coping, but they're not actually coping very well. So I want you always to be mindful of mental illness. We always kind of think of mental illness occurring in teenagers, young adults and adults, but mental illness can occur really early, and there are children out there who are struggling with depression and anxiety at very high levels. I get a lot of emails from parents who have children in this department. I received one this week from a lady in Florida whose son is currently 10, but he's already asking, and has been for some time, to end his life. I get lots of emails about self-harming, and they are the emails that I will always answer, because they are the ones where parents are crying out for help and they need help straight away. Hi there, I think it's Bibi. Hi Bibi, how you going? That's an unusual name, but I like it. And Maximud, hi there, how you going? So, lots of reasons why children can struggle to learn. I want you to be on the lookout for some of the bigger picture things. Now, the other reason why children can be struggling to learn are environmental and family limitations. Now, one of my first ever teaching positions was actually in a very poor part of Victoria, because I live in the state of Victoria here in Australia. And I had kids who, I would say at least 10 of them would turn up every morning without their breakfast. I would say that at least 3 of them came to school in the same clothes every week and they never got changed. I would say that many of them had parents who were working rolling jobs. They never saw their parents. I remember at one stage they did a survey to find out if the parents knew where the kids were, because the authorities knew there was a lot of kids on the street at night. And when they actually did the survey, it completely backfired, because it was actually the children who didn't know where their parents were. So you can see now this kind of child who is literally a survivor from day one, and is so busy working out what they're going to eat, when they're going to eat it, when they're going to get some sleep, where their parents are, feeling that level of security. This is the child who's not really going to be focused on learning when they get to school. Now, I had children who I would just put a beanbag chair out. I would just get them some food organised from the cafeteria or the canteen, and I would actually get them fed and slept. And I wouldn't even consider teaching these kids until at least after recess, when they'd have a really good rest, just in a beanbag chair adjacent to my desk. You've also got those children who come to school with so much pent angst and anguish that there's no room in their head for learning, and you literally have to sit them in a chair and get them to tell you what's going on. I used to have this chair which I called the thinking chair, which I'd put them in the thinking chair and I'd say, look, something's not right today, your behaviour's not right, obviously there's something going on, let's have a chat. I'm going to put you on the thinking chair. I want you to have a think about what's going on this morning, and then when you've had a chance to think, just stay calm. I'll come back to you in 5 minutes. I want you to tell me what's happening and how I can help you get through the day a bit better. And I used to do that all the time, and that was just a strategy that I designed out of sheer need. Having a child who really, really needed a little bit of extra support and TLC from me. So there are 6 pretty big reasons why a child can be struggling to learn in any capacity. And I want you to really think about that. Counsellors, psychologists, parents, teachers' aides, all those people, even the specialist teachers like the phys ed teachers and the art teachers and the librarians, all those people who have contact with our kids during the day, I want you to think a little bit outside the square. So when a child is having a bad day, or perhaps a child is not reaching milestones, or they're repeatedly failing tests, or they're repeatedly not doing their homework, quite often there is a lot more to it, and it can be anything from a diagnosable learning difficulty or disability, or a learning difference, like we talked about at the beginning, right up to the child who really has some environmental conditions going on at home that are just making learning the last thing on their mind when they walk in that school gate every day. Sometimes children don't even feel safe out in the wide world until they actually walk into that classroom. And teachers, you are one of the most important people in your students' lives. After mum and or dad or a grandparent or a foster carer, the next person who would definitely spend more time with a child every day, consistently, being consistent, is you, teachers. So make sure you're on the ball and thinking outside the square when a child is struggling to learn. So I hope you have a super day, everybody, and I hope you enjoyed my Facebook Live, and there will be a blog post going out about this at the end of, actually at this time next week, we'll do a blog post on this. We'll expand on it a bit further so you can actually have some concrete materials just to prompt you to remember about what you can do. Hi Denise, how you going? Lovely to see you. It's so nice to have you all on board. Now, I didn't get a question back about that, the child who was doing Spanish immersion. I'm going to guess that that parent is asking me what to do if a child is being asked to learn a second language. I'm thinking it might be that. That is a whole nother topic for a whole nother Facebook Live. And yes, I will cover that. I'll actually write that down on my list of notes of things to cover. Christy's asking me, dyslexia, dyscalculia, and dysgraphia, with a mixed anxiety and depressive mood, diagnosed from a neuropsych. I'm just going to see if I can see a bit more on my screen here. Nope, it won't let me. I can't quite see your question, your whole question. We're talking about a child here who's got lots of different issues going on though. And again, when you have a child who's got all this stuff going on and they're at school, I always apply the strategy of focusing on that child's main area of concern first. And do you notice I said the child's main area of concern? Because if a child doesn't feel in control of their learning and what's happening in their lives, then they're not going to learn. So perhaps a child is worried that they're not getting their spelling words right every week. Perhaps a child's worried that nobody's talking to them in the school ground and no one will play with them. Perhaps a child's worried that maybe a child's worried that a teacher yells a lot or raises their voice a lot or has a certain pitch to their voice. They're the things that we need to focus on first, and that's the child's main area of concern. And yes, as Denise said, if you do live in America, please check your child's IEP. And if you don't have an IEP, individual educational plan, often called different things in different countries, you probably need to put one in place when you've got a child who's really, really challenged. So I could talk on this topic for ages, as you know, because it's really my passion to, A, find out what's going on with our kids, and B, get them learning and succeeding and reaching their true potential. So I hope you have a super day, and I will be back tomorrow with another topic. And yes, I will cover sometime probably next week the child who is being asked to study another language when they're already struggling with the English language. So bye everyone, and I'll see you soon. Bye.